Welcome to TOPKUNS TV. Today's story is a wild one, all about how a moment of kindness turned into a full-blown nightmare, and how I fought back. So grab your popcorn, because this is a masterclass in petty revenge. It all started on a rainy Tuesday. I was running late for a big client meeting, dashing through the city streets. As I rounded a corner, I saw an older gentleman struggling with a mountain of files that had just spilled all over the wet sidewalk. Without a second thought, I stopped to help him. We gathered the soggy papers, and he was incredibly grateful. He introduced himself as Mr. Abernathy, a senior partner at a prestigious law firm. We exchanged pleasantries, and I went on my way, feeling good about my small act of kindness. I completely forgot about it until a week later. I got an email. It was from Mr. Abernathy. He said he was so impressed by my character that he wanted to offer me a job. A junior project manager position at his firm's new tech consulting branch. The salary was almost double what I was making. It felt like a dream come true. I aced the interviews, and within 2 weeks, I had a shiny new ID badge and a corner office with a view. Everything seemed perfect, too perfect. My direct supervisor was a guy named Mark. On my first day, Mark greeted me with a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. He seemed friendly enough, showing me the ropes, introducing me to the team. But I quickly noticed something was off. He'd make little comments, small digs disguised as jokes. He'd forget to invite me to important meetings or CC me on crucial emails. I brushed it off as him just being a bit quirky or maybe a little intimidated by the new guy who was hired directly by a senior partner. But things escalated. Mark started taking credit for my work. I'd spend a week developing a detailed project proposal, present it to him, and the next day he'd be presenting it to the partners as his own, with only minor changes. When I tried to gently bring it up, he'd laugh it off, saying, "Team effort, right? We're all in this together." But I wasn't getting any of the credit, and my name was nowhere to be found. The sabotage became more direct. He'd changed deadlines on my projects without telling me, making me look incompetent. He once deleted a key file from a shared server just hours before a major presentation. I only managed to save the day because I had a personal backup on a flash drive. When I reported it to IT, they said the deletion came from a general access point, making it impossible to trace. But I knew it was Mark. I tried talking to HR. They listened patiently, took notes, and told me they would look into it. But nothing ever happened. Mark was a long-time employee, and I was the new guy. It was my word against his. My dream job was turning into a living hell. I was stressed, anxious, and started doubting my own abilities. Was I really just not cut out for this? Mark's gaslighting was starting to work. The final straw came during the annual performance reviews. My review was a disaster. Mark had filled it with lies and half-truths, painting me as lazy, uncooperative, and incompetent. He cited the missed deadlines he had engineered and the projects he had stolen. He recommended I be put on a performance improvement plan, which everyone knew was just the first step to getting fired. I was devastated. I had worked so hard, and this snake was going to ruin my career over his own insecurity. That night, I couldn't sleep. I was angry, but I was also determined. I wasn't going to let him win. If the system wouldn't help me, I'd have to help myself. I realized that fighting him directly was a losing battle. He was too good at covering his tracks, so I decided to play his game, but better. I needed evidence. Hard, undeniable evidence. I started documenting everything. Every snide comment, every forgotten email, every meeting I was excluded from. I saved chat logs. I started sending myself summary emails after every conversation with Mark, creating a time-stamped paper trail. For example, "Hi Mark, just to confirm our chat at 2:15 p.m. The deadline for the X project is now Friday, not Thursday, as we originally discussed." He rarely replied, but the lack of a denial was just as powerful. My big break came from a little trick I learned in a cybersecurity course. I started embedding a tiny, invisible tracking pixel in the file footers of all my reports and presentations. It was a single, 1-by-1 pixel image hosted on a server I controlled. Whenever someone opened the document, the server would log the time, date, and IP address of the person who accessed it. A few weeks later, I finished a huge market analysis report. I was incredibly proud of it. I sent it to Mark for review, as protocol demanded. And just as I expected, 2 days later, he presented the entire report to the board as his own. He hadn't even bothered to change the formatting. He stood there, soaking in the praise from the partners, including Mr. Abernathy. As he finished his triumphant presentation, I raised my hand. I calmly said, "That was an excellent presentation, Mark. The data is fascinating. In fact, it's so fascinating, I'm curious how you managed to access the final version of the report at 2 a.m. from an IP address registered to a coffee shop 3 blocks from your apartment." The room went silent. Mark's face went pale. He started to stammer. I don't know what you're talking about." I continued. "And how you also accessed my preliminary draft from the same IP address last Tuesday and my financial model the week before that?" I pulled out my phone and showed my log files to the partner sitting next to me. The evidence was irrefutable. Every single document he had stolen had a digital footprint leading directly back to him, working late at night to scrub my name and add his. But I wasn't done. I said, "And about that crucial file that was accidentally deleted before the big presentation last month? I found it interesting that the server logs show a remote access request from that very same IP address just minutes before the file disappeared." I'd cross-referenced the IT logs with my own. It was a checkmate. Mark just stood there, speechless. Mr. Abernathy looked at him with pure disappointment and anger. The meeting was abruptly ended. Mark was told to pack his things immediately. He was escorted out of the building by security, not even allowed to go back to his desk. He tried to glare at me on his way out, but all I saw was a pathetic, defeated man. The next day, Mr. Abernathy called me into his office. He apologized profusely for what had happened and for not seeing it sooner. He thanked me for my professionalism and my cleverness in exposing Mark, and then he offered me Mark's job, senior project manager. So, what's the lesson here? Sometimes being kind gets you in the door, but you have to be smart to stay in the room. And when someone tries to ruin your life, don't just get mad. Get smart, get evidence. And then watch their career go up in smoke. It's the most satisfying revenge there is. Thanks for watching TOPKUNS TV. If you liked this story, make sure to hit that subscribe button, leave a comment with your own revenge stories, and share this video with someone who needs to see it. See you next time.